Driver Carrington gets dumped by Benami. The leaders are winding up here. Daytona. The big one is out. race fans, and welcome back to the League Zero Formula 3 Series. We're getting drivers gridded up, ready to go. Starting on pole tonight, Terry Crouch. James Mallory starting second. We've got Raymond Aguilar starting third. And then we've got Flo Dom starts fourth. Jake Potts fifth. Brad Tritton sixth on the grid. Kevin Burroughs starting seventh. Nick Peterson starts eighth. Connor Scribner starting ninth. Ryan Tebow starts 10th. John Kasai starting 11th. Peter Rettinger starting 12th. Then we've got Gareth Mcallister, the World for IMSA Australian, starting 13th. Chase Small starting 14th. Xavier Zanave starting 15th. Felipe Ramos starts 16th. Michael Fairchild starting 17th. Dustin Oberlo starts 18th. Ricardo Espino starts 19th. And that will round out the grid here today as we get them out on track, ready to go. Let us know who you're cheering for, where you're from, as we get ready for the feature race of the day. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen here tonight. As we wait for the few remaining drivers to make their way out. Like we've got Aguilar, we've got Crouch on the front row. All the drivers are gridded up, ready to start the party off here. We're going to wait for the lights to come on. And away they go. Now this is the track the drivers are pretty apprehensive of coming into tonight. Crouch gets an early lead. Looks like the field's going to get through turn one relatively cleanly. We've got 32 laps here tonight. And drivers are going to be trying to make moves early on. Up front, it's Terry Crouch, Raymond Aguilar. Aguilar riding about a quarter of a second behind your race leader and pole setter, Terry Crouch. Man, really having to slow up these Formula 3 machines to make the corners. Crouch, Aguilar getting a bit of a breakaway. James Mallory sitting third. He's got Flo Dom, Jake Potts, Tritton, Burroughs, Peterson, Tebow, McAllister. All here running single file, but it looks like Dom's going to try and make an outside match. Oh, Dom's just threw it in there, but Mallory's going to hold on to it. Great racing amongst these guys so far, clicking off some very fast lap times. Expecting this is probably the most laps you're going to have in a feature race all season long. And Xavier Zanave, he has problems, takes a tow back to pit road, so he will be out for the evening. As it looks like Jake Potts also has some sort of issue in the number 40 machine, cutting the grass. Hopefully he kept it off the wall as Dustin Oberlo is going to try and make his way around the number 40 machine. As up front, things starting to get a little bit stretched out. Aguilar and Crouch. Crouch, your race leader, about a half second ahead of the number 72 machine. These two drivers are almost a second and a half ahead of James Mallory's number 8. Oh, Dom still trying to work the outside line. Will he get clear of Mallory? Mallory answers again. This time his turn on the outside line. Is Dom's going to get him set up at the start-finish line straight. Not a lot of room here to pass as we were watching a heated battle. Oh, there we go. Mallory still holding on to it just ever so slightly. Mallory and Dom's putting on a heated battle for third. We get a report that Chase Small involved in an incident. Connor Scribner has returned to pit road, and Raymond Aguilar has a brief off track as well. This is going to allow Terry Crouch to pull over a second and a half, almost 2-second gap over the second place driver as we still intently watch Doms and Mallory really duking it out. This time it's going to be Doms on the inside line. Looks like he almost had it, but doesn't get the drive. Maybe a little bit of wheel spin, and now Brad Tritton is going to join the fray. A 3-car battle for third. Doms has taken over the third place position from James Mcallister as we're going to go side by side. Trenton looking for a way through here. And it's going to be Mcallister, throws it up the inside line, takes over the position from Doms once more. As behind them, the field's starting to stack up. These 2-3 drivers battling so fiercely is going to slow down the pace for everybody behind them. As your race leader, Terry Crouch, with clean track ahead, clicks off a 112 flat. As we get a report, Doms briefly went off track. That's going to allow James Mcallister to take over the position, but now Doms has contention with Trenton, Burroughs, Peterson, and Tebow all in the fray here. Some very intense wheel-to-wheel action. Burroughs trying an outside pass against Brad Trenton. Trenton in the 26 machine, Burroughs in the 80. And great racing all across the track. It looks like Gareth Mcallister, John Kasai in a battle. Kasai working the inside line, the number 3 machine. Oh, and around goes Kasai. Kasai will tricycle it out of the way, but a big crash for the number 3 machine. He will be done. Surely he'll be done, but he's actually making fairly good speed without a front right. Certainly we're not going to see Kasai try and limp it all the way around the track here as he goes off. I would imagine he's going to bring it a tow and bring it to a stop and take a tow. No, Kasai, the little number 3 that could, is going to keep limping it on here. We're going to check in on your race leader, Terry Crouch. He's 3 seconds ahead over second place Aguilar and 4.5 seconds ahead of James Mcallister. Dustin Oberlo also has a big moment, number 42 machine. As it looks like Ricardo Espino going to try and take over the spot here. Handing to Terry Crouch, your race leader, just clicking off laps. Getting faster as the run progresses with a 1:11.88, but Aguilar is going to answer with a 1:11.85. So Aguilar finding his speed later on in the run. And now Aguilar in the 72 machine is just going to have to hope that Crouch makes some sort of mistake. It's the race lead. Still holding it a little over 2.6 seconds. As it looks like the closest battle out on track will be the battle for 6. Brad Trenton, the number 26 machine, trying to fend off Nick Peterson in the 24. And just a quick update as well. John Kasai was able to limp it an entire lap with 3 wheels. He did get safely down pit road, so well done to him. Hopefully get that machine fixed and get back out there. As it looks like now Kevin Burroughs, the 5th place driver, running just about a second ahead of Brad and Trenton, got down to a 1:11.76, so the pace starting to get wicked up from some of these drivers, only 7 laps in. Now this is a one-stop race here tonight. Drivers will come in, splash off of fuel just enough to get down to the end, and keep on going. You won't see any drivers taking tires tonight, barring any sort of incidents they may have out on track, trying to avoid flat spotting these machines. As Tritton and Peterson put on a show, looks like Peterson will get the pass and do so cleanly against the 26 machine as he now sits in 6th. Things are getting a little bit tighter up front. James Mcallister in 3rd. These Aguilar just in the foreground. Behind him, Doms and Burroughs trying to catch up and maybe battle with the number 8 machine. As it looks like Burroughs has caught up to Dom. Less than 3/10 separating the battle for 4th. Crouch answers finally with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:11.56. Now Crouch in the 59 machine doesn't have to push too hard here. No, and he's got a very comfortable margin, not needing to put that number 56 in any sort of harm's way. Speaking of harm's way, Gareth Mcallister goes off track and unfortunately bends it, removing both right side tires. He takes a tow back to pit road, and the young Australian will be out for the evening. A absolute shame. The field fairly stretched out at this point. Looks like the closest potential battle we're going to have here is Jake Potts in the number 40 machine, starting to catch up to Fairchild in the 88. That last time by, Potts was about 4/10 faster than Fairchild, but Fairchild is up 7 positions early on into the race, not quite at the halfway mark. As we go on board with Jake Potts, doing his best to catch up to Fairchild. That is what about 3/4 of a second look like there. Who's going to have the better drive here? It looks like it's going to be Potts, gaining a couple 10ths of a second there on Fairchild. And what's this? Dustin O'Burlow having problems once more. Trying to Austin Powers that machine around to get it pointed right back again. As Peterson and Tritton still holding about 3/10 between each other. Looks like Tritton squarely in the draft. And now it may be a 3-car battle for 5th. It's Peterson, Burroughs, Tritton, all in a tidy train here. Now here at League Zero, it's usually a game of consistency amongst these drivers. He who makes the least amount of mistakes usually finds the podium. As a reminder, this is our feature event of the night. We're going to go 32 laps. We'll have a brief intermission where we talk to the winners, the podium finishers of this race, and then roll right into the sprint race as Burroughs and Peterson side by side. Looks like Burroughs has the overtake, does so quite nicely, and he's going to quickly put a half second on Peterson. Peterson's going to have no time to relax as Brad Trenton right in tow as well. Your race leader, Terry Crouch, once again clicks off the fastest lap of the race with a 1:11.43. Expecting the fuel window to open for these drivers in about 4 to 5 laps. As something happened to James Mcallister, as he has an incident. Let's try to take a look and see what happened. Looked like it was a single car incident. Oh, the back end just steps out and around he goes. Thankfully, no other drivers were caught up in that one. And he will now find himself back in 6th, trying to work his way up, fighting side by side with Trenton. Oh, and around goes Mcallister once more. Tagging the outside wall there. He may have a little bit of aero damage. Mind the rejoin. Very quickly trying to hop out of the race line as fast as he could, but almost a white knuckle moment for several drivers. Crouch still with a commanding lead, 2.6 seconds over Aguilar. As Peterson and Trenton still can't get away from each other, running 5th and 6th. As we wait to see if Trenton can close that 0.6 second gap that Peterson has. Meanwhile, Burroughs in 4th, starting to look like he was trying to stretch his lead or his gap over Peterson. As Burroughs runs about 3/4 of a second ahead of the number 24 Peterson. Now this time it's for Aguilar to set the fastest lap at 1:11.4. So drivers getting faster and faster as the run progresses. The tanks are starting to get a little bit lower. The tires really coming in. And it's going to be about this point in the race to about lap 25, 26. You can expect to see the fastest lap set as the drivers really getting accustomed out on the circuit. Check back in on your race leader, Terry Crouch, making it look easy, still holding that 2.5 second advantage over Aguilar. Doms rounds out the current podium. And this is where Crouch has shown he is the most lethal. Gets a good start, clean track ahead of him, and he can just stay out front and hot lap. But speaking of hot lap, Aguilar really getting on the gas here, a 1:11.37. He's gaining ground, but one has to wonder, is Crouch maybe holding back, knowing he's got a comfortable distance to the number 72 driver. Aguilar up 1 spot from where he started tonight. But this would be quite a points race if Aguilar is able to secure that second with a clean race car by the time it's all said and done. Handing it back to Trenton. Looks like he's still holding on a half second behind Peterson. Peterson just ever so out of reach lap after lap. Now I'm interested to see what the pit cycles are going to be tonight. Who's going to maybe come in a little bit early? Who's going to try and stretch those gas tanks as dry as they possibly can? Because clean track could be extremely important for some of these drivers who are running very similar pace. Checking back in with Dustin Oberlo, who's had a rough start in that number 42 machine. He's about to catch up to Ricardo Espino. in the battle for 12th. Now Burroughs again had that moment earlier, but it looks like he kept the damage away. But speaking of damage, it looks like Jake Potts is involved in an incident. We've seen a couple of self-spins tonight. Oh, and that time was a little bit of dirt and snaps it around for Potts. Does a great job locking up the brakes, maintaining as much predictability as he can. Speaking of, who's that? Was that James Mcallister? Yes, James Mcallister has big problems. He drops all the way down the standings. So it is Crouch, Aguilar, Doms, your top three. Burroughs and Peterson rounding out the top five. That's Crouch, who now holds the fastest lap, a 111.24. I'm going to be interested to see if Crouch gets down to a 111 flat by the time this is all said and done. Now the fuel window officially open for our drivers as we are at the halfway mark. And the field is fairly stretched out here. Again, the closest battle you have out on track is going to be between Nick Peterson and Brad Tritton. That's the battle for 5th. These drivers are about 1.7 seconds behind Kevin Burroughs, who's running 4th on the track. As it looks like Tritton takes a lunge at Peterson every now and then, but not quite able to make it happen. This track is just so tough to make any moves on. You have to really dive bomb it in there, throw it in, and hope it's going to work out well. Gareth Mcallister leaves pit road after 10 minutes and 30 seconds of repair. So a lot of damage on that number 25 machine, but he's going to go back out, try and salvage some points if he can. So he's going to have to count on several drivers to crash out of this event if he wants to salvage and get at least 1 point for his team. Tritton starting to get within striking distance here of Peterson. Are we going to see a move, or is he going to play it safe knowing he's comfortably inside the top 6? A top 5 just ahead of him, but still a points scoring position, and it will be looking well for the sprint race later on this evening, where we will be inverting the top 12 drivers. So that would mean if we locked up the standings, if Terry Crouch finishes first tonight, he'll be starting 12th in that sprint race. And that is where it gets extremely exciting for both drivers, broadcasters, and fans alike. What's this? Doms has problems. And now suddenly Kevin Burroughs finds himself in podium contention. Are we going to see another self-spin? Grabs a little bit of grass on the left side. And around she goes. Now Raymond, ooh, and a little bit of damage there as well. Now Raymond Aguilar is taking this opportunity to come down pit road. He'll be the first driver for his one scheduled stop of the night. This is going to leave Terry Crouch with a lot of open track, both in front and behind. Brad Tritton, Flo Doms also coming down pit road. As Burroughs moves up to 2nd, Peterson moves up to 3rd. as Doms gets out of pit road, now running 9th on the track. He's got Jake Potts just ahead of him. Potts has had his own woes tonight. Ooh, look at the side-by-side between Doms and Potts. Doms not quite able to get that happening. And once again, Doms and Potts put on a show. Doms takes the 8th place position from the number 40 machine. He's definitely got red in his eyes as he's trying to click off some laps. And now the big question is, when are we going to see Terry Crouch come down pit road? As again, we still wait for Crouch to come down pit road for his one scheduled stop. It looks like the top 5 drivers, Crouch, Burroughs, Peterson, Tebow, Rettinger, have yet to come down pit lane. And let's talk about Peter Rettinger. Rettinger had wheel problems coming into today's main event. Wasn't sure it was going to hold up. So far, it's going well for the Austrian driver. And hopefully we don't see that machine veering across the track anywhere. Crouch down. No, it's everybody except... No, Crouch came in on lap 22. Sorry, I missed that one. So now it looks like Aguilar, Burroughs, Peterson, Tebow, Rettinger all down pit road. We got Alex Penn joining us tonight in the spectator area. He's calling Gareth Mcallister as the odds-on favorite to win the sprint race to follow this main event. All the drivers, looks like in the top 10, have completed their one stop of the evening. And Crouch still out front by a quite hefty margin. He is still about almost 7 seconds ahead from Aguilar. And look at this, even after a pit stop, both drivers in the same lap. Peterson and Trenton still separated by less than 0.3 of a second in the back half of tonight's race. Feature race, I should say. 8 laps left to go for these drivers. As it looks like the top 3 drivers. Oh, just like that, Peterson goes off track, pushing a little bit too hard. Looks like he keeps it off the wall, but that is going to, excuse me, that was Nick Peterson, if I didn't say that correctly. Brad Trenton moves up to 4th after those two were separated by a stone's throw, a blanket more like. for the opening 22 laps. So well done to Peterson with a massive save. That's given Trenton a 2.7 second advantage. We get an update from pit road. Felipe Ramos has returned to the hauler, so he will be out of today's main event. That may allow Gareth Mcallister, who had that big moment, to allow himself to work up into 14th. He will still need a couple more drivers to crash out if he wants to get a point here tonight in the feature event, because he knows if he can somehow, some way finish 12th, he will be looking good to be starting on pole for the sprint race. Crouch out front, clicking off laps, showing the youngsters how to do it. Crouch qualified on pole, currently leading the most amount of laps, as well as having the fastest lap of the race here tonight. And then we got an update as well. Mcallister, the Australian, who's getting so much love from the fans, has unfortunately went back to the hauler as well. So he will be out of this feature event, and we'll try and get everything ready to go for the sprint race to follow. Crouch will have traffic to contend with, and we'll have to play it safe here to not throw away a perfectly good race lead. Looks like that may have been Burroughs, who allows the race leader to get by nice and clean. Yes, it was, so well done to Dustin, the 42 machine. Very quickly hopping out of the way. Right now, 10 drivers still on the lead lap with about 6 laps left to go in this feature event. Looks like Doms has started working his way back up, as Potts has another big moment. He's going to back out of the racing surface to, oh, here comes Burroughs as well. Is going to join Potts over in the grass. Will we see Burroughs make the pass through the grass? As it looks like Espino starting to catch up and join this fray as well. Dom starting to work his way back up. He's right on the gearbox of Nick Peterson. So Doms has worked his way, still in 6th, but trying to fight tooth and nail for that 5th place spot. He's still down 2 spots from where he qualified after the early mid-race shenanigans the number 13 machine found himself involved in. Dom's going to look towards the outside line and absolutely send it. And he will get clear of Peterson's number 24 machine. So Dom's in the 13, gaining another spot late in the race, salvaging a bit of an evening as he now runs 5th on track. Are we going to see Peterson try and answer here? For our drivers, knowing with how many drivers have been taken out via their own self-spins or maybe somebody else's misfortune. Only 9 drivers in the lead lap, so at this point I think some of the drivers just going to be playing it safe, especially if they're inside the top 12. That points paying position, they're just going to try and get through tonight, do so cleanly, and try and survive. Some of the lightest attendance we've had all season long I believe this may be just not a popular track on the circuit. Not too bad of attendance. Last week at Silverstone, we had 22 drivers. Tonight, we had 19. Spa had 32 drivers. The last couple of rounds, maybe not as popular tracks. The attendance been a little bit lighter, but still the racing's been good. Although the field is very stretched out now. Right now, 8 seconds separating your race leader, Terry Crouch, from Raymond Aguilar. And about another 8 seconds separating Burroughs from Aguilar. The three podium drivers about 16 seconds apart from first through third. The drivers that have got it figured out able to capitalize on it, while some of our drivers still having a bit of a struggle here. Crouch hasn't slowed down a lot here. He had a 1 minute 11.65 that last time by. His fastest lap of the race, for those that remember, was in a 1:11.24, so only about 4/10 off his fastest lap of the race. And I think Crouch, knowing he's got a massive lead at this point, just wants to get home by the time it's all said and done. Now, despite being a lap down, Dustin O'Burlow, Jake Potts having a bit of a race of their own for that final 10th place spot, trying to work their way inside the top 10. As just a bit of a casualty report, again, as a reminder, it was Ramos, McAllister, Kasai, Small, Ribner, and Zanave all back in pit road very early tonight. Now, Kasai, Small, Scribner, and Zanave didn't even make it 10 laps, unfortunately, before they were forced to retire. And we've got something interesting going on here. Nick Peterson looks like he's trying to return the favor to Flo Doms late in the race. It was down to about 0.3 of a second between these two drivers. Who was that in the background? That was James Miller, who has just absolutely decimated that machine. So another car getting sacrificed here at Canadian Tire as we get ready to end this feature event. Waiting to see if Peterson's going to have time to do anything. Dom's have been pretty quick here tonight, despite the early moments of woe. As Terry Crouch gets ready to start his final lap. Still running 8.3 seconds. The white flag is out for Crouch. As he is well on his way to yet another victory here at League Zero. Crouch has 5 wins coming into tonight. And just like that, Crouch has problems. On the white flag lap, Terry Crouch, with a brief moment of losing his concentration, goes off track. That's going to allow Aguilar within striking distance, less than 3 seconds and closing fast. As you see Aguilar swerving down the backstretch, not quite sure what that's about. Oh, Crouch almost snatched defeat from the jaws of victory there. And he will take the checkered. Raymond Aguilar almost was gifted this race as Crouch narrowly held on to it. And it will be Kevin Burroughs rounding out the top 3 here tonight. We're going to try and get these drivers up here to victory lane for their podium interview. And see if we can get a word with some of these drivers. We got Terry Crouch. We're still waiting on Aguilar and Burroughs to make their way up. We've got Burroughs, so we're going to go ahead and start the party off right. Up first, we got Kevin Burroughs finishing 3rd. Kevin, maybe more or less of an exciting night than you were expecting to start that feature.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Was running behind Flo there for a while, and Flo's super, super quick, and he had a little bobble there coming out of, what was it, I think turn 5.
Now, Kevin, it seems like attendance is a little bit lighter tonight, but still a fair amount of crashes. Is that a track issue you think we're facing tonight, a setup issue, or what do you think that that's maybe causing the oddness to happen here tonight in Canada?
It's a super tricky track. I mean, a lot of it isn't, but there's just a few curves that'll really get you. I mean, if you give it too much throttle coming out, I mean, it'll spin you in just a second.
Well, yes, sir, I gotta agree. We saw that for a few great drivers out there had their own problems, but still able to keep it clean. That number 80 machine finished 3rd. You gotta be happy. Kevin, who do I give a shout out to that's cheering you on this season?
Give a shout out to my wife for putting up my hobby, and TLDR, my team. Been wonderful to be with. And thank you, man. You do a great job. Love watching your broadcast.
Awesome. Kevin, my pleasure. Great time talking to you, and we wish you the best of luck in the sprint race.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. That was Kevin Burroughs finishing 3rd. Up next, we got Raymond Aguilar, the number 72 machine. Raymond, so extremely close to being gifted a race win there on the white flag lap. I mean, what were you thinking when you saw the report or maybe heard from your spotter that Crouch had that big moment?
Yeah, coming into that, I thought to myself, well, you know, if you're gonna get lucky, it's gonna be towards the end of that race, and it seemed to almost happen for me. But a lot of mistakes for me and my team tonight kind of sealed the deal and kept us from winning that.
Well, still able to keep things relatively clean. We saw a lot of drivers crash out early on, having their own amount of self-spins. Were you pretty happy with how the car was handling?
Yeah. The setup was good tonight. Team was working hard last night, 24 hours straight to get this thing, get the suspension dialed in and everything worked out. But just couldn't put it together. I think I had the pace tonight, and you know, I felt just lucky to be out there with some of these fast guys like Terry. It's amazing if I have a night where I can hang, you know, I feel like I'm pretty gifted.
Now, Raymond, going into the sprint race, we saw a lot of carnage, a lot of misfortune towards that middle or the back of the field. How do you think that's going to affect your start here in this final sprint race of the evening?
Oh, I don't think it's gonna affect the start. We actually over the weekend we bought some newer kind of technologically advanced clutch packs that I think I'm easily gonna get 5 places off the start. Just don't mention it until after the race though, because it's probably not legal. So just putting that out there.
Got it. Well, Raymond, we wish you the best of luck with you and your cheater clutch, and we'll let you get ready for the sprint race. But before we do, who do I to give a shout out to here tonight?
My mom. That's the big one. I had to really get cooled down earlier. She talked me through a lot of stuff, and my mom's the one that got me through all of it.
Awesome. Raymond, good luck out there, my friend.
Thanks so much.
That was Raymond Aguilar. Up next, the man of the hour, Terry Crouch, making it, I believe, his 6th win of the season. Qualified on pole, ran the fastest lap, led the most laps, and finished first on the arguably most important lap, the last lap. Terry, how you feeling after that one?
I got a little pucker factor 12 on that last lap. I did a dumb. I was, going in the last lap, and I'm like, turn 5 so precarious. Take it easy, take it easy. And when you change your marks after what you've been doing, and I tried to brake less and lighter, and I flew right off the track and damn near gave it away. But I'm just happy to survive it.
Now, Terry, was that an issue of attrition that you ran into at the end of that feature event, or what do you think caused that mistake, or was playing it safe the more dangerous move?
It was the cardinal sin of race driving. Don't change what you do. I just did a dumb. I went into it trying to. My marks had worked for 31 laps. I'd been safe for 31 laps. And I knew I had the gap, so I was just tried to change what I was doing like a dum-dum. So luckily survived.
Well, Terry, glad you survived there, man, because yeah, that was almost snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. So glad you're able to do it there, bring it home at the end. Now, Terry, you've had kind of hit or miss luck there on the sprint races throughout the season. You can almost flip a coin between either doing extremely well or facing misfortune. What's the plan on a track that's been chewing up so many drivers to just kind of get through those opening laps and get your head down?
I think it's a blessing and a curse for what I've been doing in the feature races, because you're right, that's 5 in a row on the feature races, and then I get to the sprint race and I'm not used to following behind guys, and other than lapping guys and they move over, but you get in the sprint race and you're trying to follow guys and you're not used to the closing distance in mid corners, and I'm either killing somebody, and I got to apologize to Chase Small because I sort of called him out on the replay last time. I should shut my mouth until I look at the replay myself. Because I just ran him over. He didn't change lanes. What I saw from my cockpit was not what I saw from the chase cam. So got to survive, got to not run anybody over, and just hold my own pace. Be patient.
Awesome, Terry. We're looking forward to, as always, a lot of great time watching out there in the car. We'll let you go get ready for the sprint races, which is going to be white knuckle all the way around. But before I do, who do I need to give a quick shout out to that's cheering you on?
Oh, you know it by now. My wife, Jill, my daughter, Aurora, my boys at TLDR and the Sim Pit. And this week, Raymond, because he was bad fast. He was pushing me. Even though it was a couple seconds, I never got to rest that whole race. So good job to him.
Awesome. Terry, good luck out there, my friend, and hope to see that streak continue.
Thank you.
That was Terry Crouch, your race winner. We're going to run a very brief intermission, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with tonight's sprint race. right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. The warm-up coming to an end here, and we're getting ready to send our drivers out for the final sprint race of the evening. Half the laps, twice the action, and sometimes 4 times the amount of the carnage. Waiting for the last couple of drivers, and here we go. It's going to be Ricardo Espino starting the top spot. Dustin O'Burlow starting second. Jake Potts starting third. Michael Fairchild starting fourth. Ryan Tebow starting fifth. Peter Rettinger starting sixth. Nick Peterson starts seventh. Flo Dom starting eighth. You got Brad Tritton starting ninth. Kevin Burroughs starting 10th. Raymond Aguilar starting 11th. And Terry Crouch will round out that reverse grid, the 12 drivers, as we get ready for the remaining few to make their way out. And it will be time to go racing, ladies and gentlemen. Are we going to make it through turn 1 without incident? Hey, are we going to make it off of the starting line without incident? That is the question. As Jake Potts showing as a did not start in the number 40 machine. And we are off here for the final sprint race of the night. 16 laps as Espino leads the field into turn 1. A freight train of fast drivers right behind him. And again, a 12-car inverted grid. So if you finish 12th in the feature, you are now first in this one. As well, this is not going to be good for Crouch. It is a parking lot here towards the back. Crouch involved with that one, as long as several other ones. I believe Kasai, McAllister, Burroughs, Potts. Let's see what happened to Crouch. Oh, and just around they go. And a massive pileup very shortly into the track. Crouch and Fairchild showing as another incident. As Crouch has DNF'd, he is back to pit road. Ricardo Espino still out front. Ryan Tebow second. Dustin O'Burlow makes the pass on Tebow. John Kasai, Xavier Zanave have all retired from the event. Oh, and there goes Espino, pushes off track, tags the wall just enough to remove the wheel. Somebody else follows him. I believe that's Dom's right behind, fishtailing around. And Espino will go from 1st to 11th as he tries to tricycle it around. Now the good news from Espino, everyone else behind him, I believe, has crashed here. So Espino, if Gareth Mcallister is unable to pit, get those repairs done, Espino can still score points here, as it looks like more carnage. Scribner and Ramos have an incident. Dustin O'Burlow has taken over the race lead from Ryan Tebow sitting second. Peter Rettinger has worked his way up to third. What a bloodbath here. So from 11th place back, it looks like everybody is out of this event. Gareth Mcallister did limp it back to pit road, just narrowly ahead of the race leaders. He is going to try to get back out there and complete another lap, and that should put him, I believe, up into 11th position if he can make that happen. But Kevin Burroughs is also going to return back onto the track to try and hold on to a points-paying position, as now we watch O'Burlow, Tebow, Rettinger. The 3-car battle for the lead. O'Burlow up 1 spot. Tebow and Rettinger both up 3 spots each. Now, interesting, Redinger had a big off that last time by. He's going to be running about 2/10 ahead of Peterson. Peterson also have Aguilar right behind him. Again, Aguilar started off 11th tonight. And has worked his way all the way back up to 5th. We've got Terry Crouch joining us from the spectator area after his unfortunate early retirement. And we might have a race for the lead going on as Oberlo and Tebow going side by side. Oberlo able to throw it in a little bit deeper, but look how heated things are getting 1st through 5th. Less than a second separating these 5 drivers. Oberlo and Tebow still going at it for the race lead. Redinger trying to hold on to 3rd as Aguilar and Peterson in hot pursuit. Looks like Brad Tritton also trying to join this fray as well, as the top 5 drivers will not be able to hot lap here. Too busy trying to defend and make passes when able. Here comes Aguilar with a hard charge. Around goes Redinger. There may have been a little bit of contact there. We'll have to get the review from the race officials. As Redinger also joining the many names tonight that are back to pit road. We got an update that Gareth Mcallister, after leaving his pits, has also taken a tow. So he will finish 16th unless somebody behind him is able to gain some ground somehow. I don't think anybody able to return on track. As look at the smoke show ahead. That, I believe, is Michael Fairchild waiting for the field to pass. As right now it's Oberlo, Aguilar, Tebow, Peterson, all in a very tight gap, as unfortunately Redinger unable to survive the frenzy. Your 6th and 7th place drivers, Doms and Malaire, both click off the fastest laps on 112.2. As a reminder, in the feature race, we saw drivers getting down to the low 111, so the pace not quite here. Really, everybody inside the top 5 has only got down to a low or mid 113 with how frantic the racing has been out on track. As we watch your race leader, Oberlo, hoping to put some distance between himself and Aguilar, hoping Aguilar gets tied up maybe with Tebow or Peterson in a heated battle to take the pressure off of that number 42 machine proudly out front, but I don't think that's going to come to fruition as Aguilar tries the slingshot. Aguilar briefly took over the race lead, but Oberlo able to hold on to it. Now Aguilar looking for his 2nd win of the season tonight. Oberlo, Tebow, Peterson, Tritton, all looking for their 1st win of the season. So Oberlo surely hoping that Tebow gets involved with the 72 machine long enough, but unfortunately Tebow pushes wide there. That's going to allow Nick Peterson to take over the 3rd place spot. As now Tritton has moved up to 4th. Tebow slots back into 5th. As still less than a second separating your top 4 drivers in a mad frenzy as we look to go 3 wide. Aguilar makes contact with Oberlo. Wheel-to-wheel contact. That's going to allow Nick Peterson to slide up the inside line. He'll take over 2nd place from Oberlo. And now Brad Tritton's going to try and capitalize as well. Up front now it'll be Aguilar, Peterson, Oberlo in the top 3, but things are sure to change as we are halfway through this sprint race. As still the top 5, top 7 at this point really has all been decided now. Aguilar and Peterson have about a 1.5 second breakaway to Oberlo, who's battling intently with Trenton, Tebow, and Doms. Let's look at this. Your race leader Aguilar and Peterson going side by side. Aguilar comes out the victor in that battle, as the top 3 all bouncing around, and from third place back, you've got Oberlo, Doms, Tebow, Malaire, Trenton, all here, as Oberlo takes over the 3rd place spot, putting about a second on Doms, as behind them they were busy in their own battle. Aguilar stretched his distance to about 7/10 over Peterson. Aguilar, now that he's got a clean track, clicked off a 111.73. He's gaining some time. Looks like Aguilar has about a 1.5 second gap over Peterson. If we go back to Doms, he's about 3/4 of a second behind Oberlo, who's still fighting tooth and nail to hold on to that podium. But it's going to be interesting to see if James Malaire puts the pressure on Doms' number 13 machine, and it may foil his efforts. Looks like Doms has a good run here, gaining about a 10th in the backstretch, really using that draft to his advantage, but that's a double-edged sword as James Malaire does the same, so less than 3/10 separating all 3 of these drivers. It looks like Malaire looks to the inside line of Doms, not quite able to make it happen, and Oberlo is going to have a lot of pressure from behind by Doms. What a mad frenzy here in the sprint race. Everybody battling hard. So now we're waiting to see what's going to happen in the final podium spot. Oberlo has had all sorts of pressure from Doms here. Aguilar stretching his lead just to about 2 seconds over Peterson. But here comes Doms trying to make something happen against Oberlo. They're side by side. Oh, and contact. They're both going to go off. Their races will be done. Hard impact amongst the two, and look at that. Mcallister narrowly avoids getting collected. And oh, there's going to be some hurt feelings in the drivers' meeting after this. So now it's Aguilar, Peterson, Mcallister. Let's see what happened between the two. It was Doms on the outside, Oberlo on the inside line. And just a little bit of contact, just not enough real estate for those two drivers. And unfortunately, both will now find themselves running 8th and 9th with a podium quickly grasped out of their reach. We're focused on Nick Peterson, number 24 machine. He's up 5 spots from where he started tonight as the race gets ready to come down to a close. Raymond Aguilar still out front, 2 seconds ahead. As again, it's Aguilar, Peterson, Mcallister now in podium contention. You've got Connor Scribner, who is once again linked up with Brad Tritton. This is the battle for 4th on track. Tritton still fighting tooth and nail, that number 26 machine. Last time by, Scribner was about 0.3 faster. As this has been an interesting race, we've got Little Birdie aptly saying this race really taking everyone out. Yeah, chewing them up, spitting them out here at Canadian Tire. Looks like Tritton goes off track slightly. Ooh, both drivers diving in deep. Scribner almost got to the side of Tritton. He's got to be careful. That's the same thing we saw between Oberlo and Doms just a few short laps prior. Now, these drivers battling as hard as they are, I don't think they're going to be able to catch up to Mcallister's 3.5 seconds ahead. But that doesn't matter to these two. They've got a show to put on. Raymond Aguilar has taken the white flag. Looking well to pick up another win this season, but we saw what happened to Crouch in his feature race. Just one little lapse of judgment almost cost him the win, so hopefully Aguilar can avoid that same fate. He's a comfortable 2.7 seconds ahead of Peterson and 3.8 of third place James Mcallister. Now, Aguilar has been kind of a sprint race hero this season. His last win was just last week at Silverstone for the sprint race. So looking like, no, I've got that, I believe I got that reversed. Can't tell, the scoring results aren't accurate on my end. It's only showing a 10-lap race for both, so I'm almost fairly certain that it was the sprint race. But we'll find out here just in a second as Raymond Aguilar makes his way around. And he will bring home the win. Nick Peterson second, and James Mcallister will finish third. We're going to try and get these drivers up into the waiting room. But what a race. As we wait for the remaining drivers to get up here in victory lane. What a wild night from start to finish. We've got Peterson, we've got Aguilar, and now we're waiting on James Mcallister. So up first, we're going to get James Mcallister in the number 8 machine, finishing third, up 10 spots. James, it looked like the seas just parted for you there at the end.
Yeah, they certainly did. Hey, it's good to talk to you, man. I didn't think I'd ever speak to you again, so I'm real happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you back, man. What a wild race. I mean, the feature race had its fair share of carnage, and the sprint race doubly, if not triply. So I'm not quite sure how many drivers actually finished, but I want to say it was less than half the field that go around.
Yeah, sprint race. We all definitely sprint, and it's a tough track. A lot of drafting going on, a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing, and it definitely brings out some tense moments.
Now, James, we've kind of agreed by all the drivers that it's a tough track, but what makes it so tough out here? Is it just not a lot of room to pass? Is it the track surface, or what is it that's making it so hard for everybody?
There's no hard braking zones. The hardest braking zone there is at the end there at Moss. You go down to third gear, and you're trail braking most of that on your way in after getting down. So without hard braking zones, it just makes it real hard to pass. So everybody's speed is constantly up, and then the second you finally get the run on somebody, you're running out of track. You go side by side anywhere here, and you're giving up a good half a second to the field for battling. So yeah, it's a lot of tense moments it brings out all the time.
Well, James, if you could pick one track to replace Canadian Tire next season on the schedule, and it had to be worse, what track would you pick?
Had to be worst. Let's see, Imola. There you go. That's probably one of the worst tracks on the service for me. Just cannot drive it.
Well, excellent. Well, glad we weren't there tonight. Still a great night, finishing third, the number 8 machine. Who'd you like to give a shout to? Friends, family, sponsors that's cheering you on this season.
It's always Lumos. Always Lumos. Those are the boys. That's who we run with. That's who we practice with. All the hours in the lab. So always shout out to Lumos, and obviously everybody here at the league. You in the booth, Antonio putting it all together, and everybody else that helps. It's great.
Awesome. James, great job tonight finishing the third spot, and hope to see you back next week and finish just as strong, if not better.
Yes, sir. You take it easy. Thank you.
You as well, sir. That was James Mcallister finishing third tonight. Up next, we've got Nick Peterson, number 24 machine. Peterson, what a wild ride from start to finish. I mean, you started 7th, kind of middle of the fray, and kind of able to survive those opening few laps before you're able to get that clean track and put your head down.
Yeah, that's kind of just how the sprint races go. You just hope you can get past the slower guys safely and make it to the front.
Now, we saw a lot of fast drivers get crashed out early. What was your strategy to survive those, I guess I would say, opening laps? Normally it's the opening corners, but it seemed like that kind of kept stretching out for everybody.
I was just sticking to the racing line and hoping not to get caught up. Luckily, I got past Peter, who spun, and I had a nice overtake on Ryan. But after that, it was pretty easy going.
Nice. Now, were you pretty happy with how your night went overall? I mean, you finished 7th in the sprint. You finished, 2nd in the sprint, 7th in the feature. A pretty good points night for your team, all things considered.
Yeah, it was probably the best race I've had this season.
Well, hopefully you can keep that continued success up. Now, what led to the great success? It seemed like things really clicked for you here tonight, while so many other drivers were really struggling with the track for the last 2 races.
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I bought this track yesterday, so I don't know. I just kind of vibed with it and figured it out pretty quickly, and it was a fun track. I kind of like it.
Well, Nick, glad things worked out well for you. Good to have you back up here in Victory Lane, and always great seeing the number 24 make it to the end nice and clean. Nick, who would you like to give a shout to, friends, family, sponsors that's cheering you on this season?
Well, like to thank my mom and my sister for watching and cheering me on.
Well, awesome. Nick, again, congratulations on a 2nd, my friend. Hope to see you carry that success in the near future, and always a great time talking to you.
Thanks, you too, James.
That was Nick Peterson finishing 2nd tonight. A great race. And now the man of the hour, Raymond Aguilar, the number 72 machine. Looks like sprint races may be your forte, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. We've got the technology now. We've got the pattern of practice and weaving through traffic and trying to get through safely, and it seems like it's working out the last 2 weeks.
Now, Raymond, I mean, joking aside, what's the strategy here at the sprint races? We see so many drivers get collected after a strong finish in the feature event, and then you're able to finish relatively strong in the feature and great in the sprint for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I wish I could reverse those 2 things. I one thing I notice about the sprint racing is people tend to take the conservative path into that, and I think you have to really, a lot of times, if you see a gap, just close your eyes and kind of go for it. We've all seen the movies. You got to just close your eyes and look for the gap and make sure you get it.
So if gap car is basically what you're telling me.
Yeah, pretty much.
I can't argue with success. It seems like things are working out well for you. It didn't bounce into anything or anyone, and a relatively clean night. Now, is this a track you were feeling pretty good about coming into tonight, or were you apprehensive like what it seemed like half the field joining us?
Yeah, no, Mosport's one of my favorite tracks. I usually seem to have a decent pace at it, so this might just be a fluke that I was able to hang with Terry. But I'll tell you what, no matter what the outcome of tonight was, I got to hang with a great driver like Terry and match pace with him, so I'm going to sleep well tonight.
Well, very well said, very well earned. Now, coming up later this season, do you have a favorite track still on the schedule that you're just extremely looking forward to?
No, I actually haven't thought about it too much. I do like Zandvoort. I think we're heading there this year. We need some new tracks. We're ready for this new season to start, ready for iRacing to kind of give us these new tracks.
And rain, perhaps. Do you think we're going to
Yeah.
see rain here in Formula 3?
I doubt it, but I guess that would be a welcome shakeup. We all want some more shaking up of the actual races, so I think rain might be the way to go.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I think half our drivers, if not more, probably won't. But Raymond, a great job as always. Good to have you back up here. 2 sprint races in a row. I know you're pumped, the team's pumped, and you've got the final luxury, the privilege of the final shouts of the evening. What do you got for our fans at home, Raymond?
Yeah, I want to thank Little Debbie. We wouldn't be able to, get the money and the resources to get to these tracks without them. They jumped in late in the season and gave us all of the things that we needed, especially the brownies with the little nuts on them. Past that, I want to thank my Czech friends who've been writing these iRacing hacks for me so I can go faster than other people. And, my mom, again, she talked me through this.
Awesome. Raymond, congratulations, man. Good to have you back up here in the top spot. Always a great time talking to you, and we wish you the best of luck throughout the rest of the season.
Yep. Thanks so much, James.
Thank you, my friend. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Raymond Aguilar bringing home the win here tonight for the final sprint race of the evening. As always, don't forget the feature results you see on your screen are actually the sprint results, a limitation to the iRacing software, where it was Raymond Aguilar finishing first, Nick Peterson finishing second, and James Mcallister joining us once again in the podium for a great race. As always, on behalf of LeagueZero.net, as well as Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you same time, same place next week. Have a great night, everyone.